Assalamu alaikum. Welcome and thank you all for being here this afternoon. Before I begin with the service, I'd like to first remind everybody that next week is the Islamic Center's fundraising dinner. The Islamic Center is, and twice a year we have our fundraising dinners, and your support is instrumental and vital to the Islamic Center providing the services, like these services that we provide today, and services that we provide year-round. The Islamic Center is your community center, it's your town square, it's your gathering place, it's above all, it's your mosque. And we need your support and appreciate your support. So if you would like to buy a ticket or make a donation, please keep that in mind. Next Sunday is the Islamic Center's fundraising dinner. If you cannot make it, please see me, and I will be happy to take your donation. So to begin the program, as I said, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. And thank you for taking time to be here to remember our beloved Bashir Soueidan. God rest his soul. Bashir Soueidan was a member of the Islamic Center community a long time ago. He moved from southeastern Michigan in 1978. He was a member of the Yatar community, and he was admired as a father, a spouse, a brother, uncle, and friend to everybody. A man who demonstrated patience, wisdom, forgiveness, humor, and love to all. So today's program will include a recital from Sheikh Ahmed Ayad, some words of remembrance and inspiration from Sayyid Brahim Saleh, and we'll conclude with a few words from Mاجد Soueidan, Bashir's oldest son. So before we begin, I'd like to, if I may, just take a few minutes to share with you my observations from Bashir's funeral last week in Pennsylvania. When Bashir moved here with Aunt Selma, when he moved from here with Aunt Selma and Mاجد and his other son Zuhair, they left the Islamic community to move to Pennsylvania. And they left this community, embarked on a journey similar to the journey that many of you are all familiar with, in that they left a group of family and friends, and they left a community to forge a new beginning, forge new friendships in a new community. But unlike those of us who moved here, they didn't move to an established Muslim community. They didn't move and establish a new Muslim community. They moved into a community in where Muslims were, quite frankly, and are still, quite frankly, rare. So it was interesting to me last week when I attended the funeral to see what they have, what Bashir, God rest his soul, and Aunt Selma and Mاجد and Zuhair have done, established in their community in Harleysville, Pennsylvania. The outpouring of support from the non-Muslim community was truly heartwarming. They live in a community where they don't have an Islamic center like we have. So they, when Bashir passed, they had, as you would expect, we took the body to the local mosque and had the body washed and did the funeral prayer at the mosque. But there is no Islamic cemetery, no Islamic center. But the community rallied together, and they said, we have a community cemetery, and we have a section within the community cemetery that we are happy to allow anybody of any faith to use. And they were very interested in helping us do what we needed to do in order to perform a burial according to our requirements and traditions and customs. And they said, we will save a plot for you. You can orient it toward the Qibla, and you can do all that you need to do so that you can perform your service and your funeral here. And the fact that they had so much understanding and support for the Muslim community was truly touching. They wanted to do anything they could to help Bashir and Aunt Selma. They recognized the importance of honoring the Muslim faith, the Muslim tradition, and they were very open-minded to our customs, our values, and our beliefs. I mention this because just as it's important for us to establish and maintain a Muslim community, sometimes it's important to reach out and familiarize others with our faith. And I'd like to recognize Bashir and Salma for doing such a fine job of that. They have such a supportive community that is so respectful of the Muslim faith and tradition. So, as I said a moment ago, our program will include some recital from Shaykh Hayed, and then some words of remembrance by Sayyid Salah, and then Mاجد. So, Shaykh, thank you.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرج بشير. To the pure soul of المرحوم Bashir Muhammad Soueidan, Hajj Abu Mاجد, to his late parents المرحوم Mousa Muhammad Soueidan Abu Abdullah, to her late mother المرحومة Khatoon Soueidan, to all the deceased ones from his family, especially his brothers, المرحوم الحاج أبو أنيس حميد سويدان, المرحوم الحاج أبو شفيق محمد سويدان, المرحوم الحاج نسيب سويدان, المرحوم الدكتور علي سويدان, to all his deceased sisters, pure souls of المرحوم الحاج هند, والمرحوم الحاج نور الصباح, والمرحومة الحاجة نور الهدى, والمرحومة الحاجة سعاد, to all the deceased ones of the respected families of Al Soueidan, Al Salih, and to all who passed away from villages Yatar, Waqana, Al Azizatayn bi Ahlihima, to all the pure souls of the innocent lives that is taken away, especially from Lebanon and Palestine, we recite Surah Al-Mubarakah Al-Fatiha مسبوقة بذكر الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي والله سميع عليم. الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور، والذين كفروا أولياؤهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات، أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in verse Al-Kursi in the Quran Kareem, Allah, there is no God worthy of worship except Him, the ever-living, all-sustaining, neither drowsiness nor sleep overtakes Him. To Him belongs whatever is in the earth and whatever is to Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. Who could possibly intercede with Him without His permission? He fully knows what is ahead of them and what is behind them. But no one can grasp any of His full knowledge except what He wills to reveal. His seat encompasses the heavens and the earth, and the preservation of both does not tire Him, for He is the Most High, the Greatest. Let there be no compulsion in religion, for the truth stands out clearly from falsehood. So whoever renounces false gods and believes in Allah has certainly grasped the firmest, unfailing handhold, and Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. Allah, the guardian of the believers, He brings them out of darkness and into light. And for the disbelievers, their guardians are false gods, who lead them out of light and into darkness. It is they who will be the residents of the fire, they will be there forever. Allah said in chapter Al-Fajr, O tranquil soul, return back to your Lord, well pleased with Him, and enter paradise with my pure and righteous servants. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. We send verse Al-Kursi and what we recited from chapter Al-Fajr to the pure soul of Al-Hajj Bashir Muhammad Soueidan Abu Mاجد مع سورة المباركة الفاتحة مسبوقة بذكر الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. بسم الله. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى آلك المظلومين المعصومين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. المآتم والمجالس لولدي الحسين. أنسيت آل المصطفى في كربلاء، والله ما ننسى الحسين. أنسيت آل المصطفى في كربلاء، حول الحسين ذبائح لم يلحدوا، كيف السلو وفي السبايا زينب تدعو بحرقة قلبها يا أحمد. نعم زينب سلام الله عليها شكت همها وغمها وحزنها لرسول الله ولأمها الزهراء ولأمير المؤمنين علي عليهم السلام. كأني بها توجهت إلى أمها الزهراء: أمي حولي من يتامى إخوتي في الذل قد سلبوا القناع وجردوا، أمي قد منعوا الفرات وقتلوا عطشا فليس لهم هنا مورد أبيها أمير المؤمنين. أبي من ثقلي وطول مصيبتي ولما أعانيه أقوم وأقعد. نعم زينب سلام الله عليها عندما عاد فرس الحسين عليه السلام يصهر صهيلا عاليا أمام المخيم، وبعد أن لطخ ناصيته بدم الحسين قالت زينب لسكينة: قومي واستقبلي أبيك الحسين. خرجت نظرت إلى الجواد مخزية، قالت: قتل والله والدي الحسين. بكايات سكنة مذلة، يا عم المهور حط القلب علا. طلعت زينب صارخة تقلا: يا مهر حسين وين حسين اخاك؟ هجم عصلان الفلوات على مخيم الحسين وعلى الأطفال والنساء والأطفال واليتامى، فخرجت زينب تستصرخ أخا الحسين. صعدت على ذلك الدال نادت بحريق صوتها: حبيبي يا حسين إن كنت حيا فأدركنا، فهذه الخيل قد هجمت علينا، وإن كنت ميتا فأمرنا وأمرك إلى الله. لهفي علي عندما وصلت إلى جسدي الشريف ونظرت إليه كأني بها وجهت وجه ناحية جدي يا رسول الله. جدي ذا صدر الحسين مرضب والخيل تنزل من علين وتصعد. جدي ذا نحر الحسين مرضب، ذا نحر الحسين مضرج بالدم والجسم الشريف مجرد. أخي بحق جدنا رسول الله كلمني، بحق أبينا أمير المؤمنين كلمني، بحق من الزهراء كلمني. فتح عيني قال له خي زينب لقد قطعت قلبي عودي إلى المخيم واحفظي لي العيال والأطفال. وأنا بعيني دبري لك عيالك. وبروحي لسكت لك أطفالك. والله يا ريت الموت يرضى بدالك. ترى يا خويا نروح كلنا فداك. وبقيت أجرع هضم فقدك وعاني احترق قلبي انكسر ظهري بعد وعاني تبكي عليك واحمرت علي. تبكي عليك واحمرت علي. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فلك للدين حنيفا فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها لا تبديل لخلق الله ذلك الدين القيم ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. صلى الله العلي العظيم. أجركم الله إن شاء الله. They requested just for me to speak 3 to 5 minutes in English. Inshallah, I can conclude for the sake of time. Just one verse, inshallah, brief message to the point directly, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in this verse in the Quran Kareem, set your heart on the religion as a people of pure faith, the origination of Allah, according to which Allah, He originated mankind. There is no altering in Allah's creation. That is the upright religion, but most people do not. We believe that the human being is born 100% innocent, and there is a huge light within that person. And that's why scholars, they said, the human has to die the same way he was born. To protect, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala programmed us, our instinct nature, the pure nature within. That the more a human being is growing, subhanAllah, we recited Ayat al-Kursi, that is mentioning darkness, dhulumat in a plural form. But an-nur, which is light, it was mentioned in the form. Is one. But darkness has thousands and thousands of different paths that can push the human being away from the pure path and go away, unfortunately. That's why, subhanAllah, if the person is protecting his inner nature and grow and age on that pure nature, definitely everything that he produce will be good and pure. That's why we always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us pure progeny, bright children. So when we die and we leave behind children and grandchildren, we prove to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that what we produce living in its parties because of seductions and temptations and whispers of Satan. We are dealing with an era and a time that filled with hatred, detestation, strictness, harshness, violence, stress, digression, and fear and darkness. Unfortunately, majority of the humankind are corrupting and polluting and ruining that inner self. So that's why as believers we always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us righteous and pure children and grandchildren, that I will be rewarded even after their life. That's why the best way to invest for the afterlife is investing in righteous and pure children. Remember the verse of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam in chapter Nuh, when he complained to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before he requested for Allah to punish that nation, he told Allah that that generation, he's just bringing children that they are disobeying God and causing corruption and injustice in the land. And what we're witnessing nowadays is that how these innocent lives and souls are being taken unjustly and unfairly with no mercy. That aggression and violence in the hearts of people, they don't care about killing children and attacking and targeting civilians and innocent individuals like women and children. What's going on with our world nowadays? That shows that we're living in the maximum evil era, where the hearts of the humankind are being polluted and corrupted to the max. And that's why the righteous and pure and innocent ones who were protected by Allah and protected by the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are still pure human beings, they have to stand and share the righteous words and words filled with light, so they can stop all that evil going on out there. So just this is my message, brief message. If I want to see practically, if I still have that pure nature, that means every word comes out from my mouth, every action I'm showing in the outside world is good and righteous and beneficial and positive to mankind. And if I have corrupted inner self, everything you will witness from me in the outside world will be corrupted and evil and harmful, etc. And now you can apply this rule on all the countries in the world. Which people are always producing evil and harm and harshness versus who are the people who are always producing goodness and purity? And then you are able to distinguish between righteousness and falsehood, who are in the right camp, who are in the false camp. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower His infinite mercy and blessings on the pure soul of Al-Hajj Bashir Muhammad Soueidan, who alhamdulillah produced good family and good children and good grandchildren, so they can pray for him, inshallah, so he can be rewarded in his permanent life after, in this journey after life, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless his soul and to shower his infinite mercy and forgiveness and blessings on his pure soul, to the soul of Al-Hajj Bashir Muhammad Soueidan Abu Mاجد, to his late parents and brothers and sisters and siblings, and to all the ones who are deceased from his respected family, to all the respected families of deceased ones from the respected families of Al-Soueidan, Al-Sa'ir, and to all those who passed away from the villages Yatar and Qana, to all the innocent lives that were taken away from especially countries like Lebanon and Palestine. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send the reward of Surah Al-Mubarak Al-Fatiha for their pure souls after salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Before, I'd like to next ask Sayyid Ibrahim Saleh to say some words of remembrance and prayer. But before doing so, I would also like, while we have everyone here, to ask everyone's for thoughts and warm wishes and prayers for Isbouh Shawi Hajj Abdulaziz Soueidan, who's in critical health in the hospital in Qatar. And we'd like to ask everyone to pray for his comfort as he deals with this very difficult health challenge.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم اللعين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلى الله على أشرف خلق الله أجمعين محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. أهل العزاء، أهل الفضل، آل سويدان الكرام، أبناء تلك القرية التي ضمت بأحضان جبل عامل يعطر بعائلاتها الكريمة، سويدان، جعفر، صالح، كوراني، وكل مؤمن، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. رحم الله من أعاد الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. عندما كنت جالسا بجانب الأخ الكريم أبو فاد سويدان أنيس، سألته سؤالا ساذجا، قلت له: أتسافر إلى لبنان أم باق ها هنا؟ فأجابني جوابا مؤلم. بأثنائها قال لي: نعم، ذهبت مرتين. في المرة الأولى حملت ولدي فادي، وفي الثانية حملت ولد الآخر، ما بعرف اسمه، محمد. فهزتني هذه الكلمة، بأن فقد الأحبة، حتى لو عنده الواحد قطة بقلب بيته، يكون عنده مشاعر حياتية إنسانية. وأنا دائما بقولها. قالوا له لأحد الأشخاص: أتشعر بالألم؟ قال: بلى. قالوا له: أنت حي، يعني you are alive. Do you feel with the pain? He said yes. So they told him, you are alive. فسئل أيضا: أتشعر بالآخرين؟ Do you feel with the others؟ قال: بلى. قالوا له: أنت إذا إنسان. So you are a humankind. فلما قال لي هيك أنا اهتزيت من جوا. فقد ولدين وهو صابر، وما زال مثابرا على ولائه لأرض الأنبياء والرسل. قال لي: عم بعمر، مين بيدري انه ايمتى بده يموت؟ لا تدري نفس بأي أرض تموت ولا تدري نفس ما تكسب غدا، كل نفس ذائقة الموت. بس مش معناتها نستسلم. أنا حي 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 لآخر نفس، والباقيات الصالحات عند ربنا عز وجل. فلما قال هيك أكبرته. وهو دائما بعيني كبير أبو فادي، لأنه صديقي وحبيبي وعزيز على قلبي، كباقي هالإخوان الطيبين الموالين لمحمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل. الأخ محمد عياد حكي الآن بالإنسانية ومشاعرها، وكيف بيكون الإنسان متدين. الإجنيشن for your faith هو ولائك لمحمد وآل محمد. ما بتمشي على المانيوال اللي اجوا فيه تعاليمهم، انت you're gonna misguided the right path. راح تحيد عن الدرب، ما راح تكون على الصراط المستقيم. والله لو طلعت السماء، نزلت الأرض، رحت يمين وشمال، إذا ما بتوالي محمد وآل محمد أنت لا شيء. أنت لا شيء. فالإنسان بعمله، بقوله، بفعله قبل القول، لأن في ناس بتحكي كتير، ولكن عند حك الركب بدك تعرف الظلم مش بالطول وبالعرض. بتلاقي إنسان هيك صغير قصير، جسم ما عنده بس عليه قلب أسد. لذلك الإنسان بفعله إيمانا بقوله. اليوم عند الصباح فتحت المعلومات بالأخبار، قالوا أنه زيدت مجزرة إلى تلك المجازر ولكن على أرض جبل عاملة. ناس جايين من بليدة عين، أم وأمها وثلاث بنات، ضربتهم طيارة قتلتهم. مدنيين؟ لا، هول حاطين دبابات متطورة، كاينين بدبابة متطورة وحاملين عبوات ناسفة وسلاح خطير، ترمى بقذيفة تحرق من بها. هون بيجي وإذا الموءودة سئلت بأي ذنب قتلت. كم مرة بمرة. الله يرحمك يا مظفر النواب لما عمل قصيدة القدس عروس عروبتنا، كان عم بخاطب، يمكن كان بعد عندهم شوية دم بعروقهم. اليوم منكرر منقول له مش القدس، مش غزة، كل إنسان مظلوم نقول لك لم يبقى عروق ليكون بها دماء، لم يبقى عروق ليكون بها دماء، ليشعروا بما يحصل لنا. السكوت، نحن أهل البيت ما علمونا السكوت. على بعض الأحيان أصبر وأتحمل الوجع لأصلح، ولكن أتحمل الوجع من ذل فهيهات منك بالله. ما بدناش ننفخ حكي ونطرطق كلام. برجع بقول لكم الفعل قبل القول. أهلنا يقتلوا يشردوا، في ناس بيقولوا يا حرام، في ناس يتألم، في ناس يشارك بكلمة بفعل بتحرك، يجتمعوا. يعني أنا بدي أتصور حالي إذا عندي شيء من الغيرة وشيء من الرجولة، ولك بكون عم باكل، إذا بسمع خبر من هالخبر إلك عين تكمل أكلك. إنسان ما بيعود ياكل. بنت عمرها 14 وأختها بين 10 و9، كبيرتهم جدتهم وأمهم، وهذا لا يعني هو الشيء الوحيد الذي وقع اليوم، سيقع في كل يوم عندما نتخلى عن عزتنا وشرفنا. أنا ما عم بقول نجي نجيب دبابات وطيارات، ما عندنا القدرة، عندنا مواقف أن نجتمع، إن كنا لبنانيين، فلسطينيين، سوريين، أردنيين، وعندنا الكثير الذين يتكلمون الإنجليزية بطلاقة. Most of our community speak English fluently. في عنا خبراء سياسيين ودينيين، وعندنا خبراء تربويين، لأنها بتعمل ردة فعل على نفوسنا ونفوس أبنائنا. كيف بدنا نكمل مستقبلنا وعدونا بعده ضاغط علينا بأقدامه القذرة، والحر ما بيرضى حدا يلمسه ولو بالكلام. والله أنا عم بحكي عن نفسي، لو بدي ضل 100 سنة واقف لذل حالي برمشة عين هيهات منا الذلة برجع بخير. بدنا موقف، بدنا كل المراكز، مش بس المراكز الإسلامية، الفعاليات الاجتماعية، إنه نجتمع ويكون لنا صوت وإطلالة على الميديا، الكل يتكلم، تراثنا ما بيروح. أنا عجبني باسم يوسف، بعرفش إذا عم تشوفوه لهالشاب، هو دكتور قلب، تخلى عن هالشغلة أو جمدها، له مواقف عظيمة. امبارح مع شخص اسمه بيرز or something، شال من ايده قنينة زيت زيتون، اوليف اويل، قال له انا بهديك هالقنينة من زيتونات مش عمرها سنة وسنتين وثلاثة، عمرها 600 سنة، ليدلوا انه ها نحن اصحاب هالزيتون، نحن اصحاب الارض. فاذا كنت من اصحاب العزة والشهامة والكرم والشرف، ما احد يقدر يزعزعك من مكانتك. لذلك نحن لازم نجتمع، مش فقط وقت المصيبة. لألفينك تبكيني وتندبني وفي حياتي ما زودتني زاد. أنا وقت المصيبة، وقت ما أنا بحاجة إلكم، أصرخ ذلك الصوت ومعتصمة. أول بالك أعطينا أنت من أعمالك اللي ترتد على هالأمة، مش على شخصك وعلى عائلتك، مش على المملكة اللي أنت عم تبنيها لذاتك بأنانيتك. بدنا أشخاص، وما بدناش نكون عاطفيين، بدنا نحكي واقع. أنا بهالثوب، ثوب رسول الله، عمة رسول الله، بدي أحفظها وأحفظ كرامتها، ولكن مش على حسابها. ما بدي ابني مجدي على حسابك وحساب أولادك، وأنا ما عم بتطلع بأولادك، ولا عم زور أهلك، ولا عم زور مرضاك. مش بس رجل الدين، بس أنا عم بحكي، أنا كرجل الدين عم بحكي عن نفسي. أنا لموقف بتكلم أول شيء أطبقه على نفسي إذا تكلمت به. فإذا وقت المصيبة كلنا بالخندق واحد، عدوك ما بيفرق، لأنه ينظر إلك وإلي بشكل حيوان حسنه الخالق ليخدم بني إسرائيل، ولا بيقتلك مثل شربة المي عنده ولا شيء. أنا امبارح حكيت عن الهولوكوست اللي عملوها بالحرب العالمية الثانية، وقالوا 6 مليون يهودي، مش بس يهود، غجر وسود ومعتوهين وقتلوهم. وعملوا كامبين بالدول الأوروبية، الإشوز، وعملوا ميديا كبير، الأفلام مثلا The Little Boy with the Striped Pajama، The Pianist، تعيت شاندلر فايلز. إذا بتحضروهم تبكوا، لأن بيعرفوا كيف يلعبوا لعبتهم. نحن إذا انهان النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، منعيط ومنصرخ لساعتين، يوم يومين، باي باي وجود باي، ما في شيء. وإلا هذوليك ميتهم ما بيموت، ونحن ميتنا. نحن الحسين بعد ما مات عنا، ليش ما بنقتضي بما أمرنا به؟ الإنسان بده يكون صلب ولكن لين بنفس الوقت. فإذا بقينا على هذه الحال لن يبقى لنا شخص. ما بدنا نكون من الجماعة اللي خاطبهم مظفر النواب. نحن عنا عروق، وعروق كبيرة، ودمنا ضفاق من وراء أئمتنا ونبينا، من وراء علمائنا. يعني تصور السيد عبد الحسين شرف الدين رضوان الله عليه، بتسمعوا فيه؟ سيد عبد الحسين شرف الدين من أكبر علمائنا، السيد محسن الأمين، السيد موسى الصدر، كل عالم مخلص لم يجعل الدين مركوب له، وإنما جعل من نفسه طريق عبدها من أجل الأحرار، جعل يعني الجسد درعا يحمي به عقيدة. إذا لم يكن هيك أصحاب العقيدة وخاصة الذين يعلمون العقيدة، نحن مجرد أرقام لا قيمة لها، مثل ما بيقولوا عنا بالعامية صفر على الشمال. وأسأل الله لا نكون هكذا. ونحن في هذا اليوم وفي هذه الساعة نحتفي أو نقوم بفاتحة الحاج بشير محمد السويدان. أنا بعرف الحاج أنيس رحمة الله عليه، صاحب بي وزلمة محترم يعني مثلكم جميعا، إلا أنه رغم أنه مات يمكن الحاج أنيس شيء 90 سنة أو أبو أنيس شيء 90 سنة 70. أوكي. المهم الإنسان لا يقاس بكبر العمر، إنما يقاس بعمله، بتواضعه، بمحبته للآخرين. مش إيه يا حبيب قلبي بس يبرم ظهره، هو بس يبرم ظهره ليأكل لحمه يعني بلا ملح وبهار، قد ما مشتهي ياكل لحمه. أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا، ما قال حيا ربنا ميتا فكرهتموه. ليش قال ميتا؟ لأن لما تاكل تشيل من الميتة لحم مبعود ينمى محلها، أما الحي تضربه بالسكينة بعد مدة يعبي لحم وبيسكن. فنحن بننطر يا حبيب قلب لك بدك تحبه حبه من قلبك، ما تنافق بلسانك. لسانك اجعله ترجمان قلبك. إذا كنت صادق احكي اللي أنت باتجاهي شو بتشعر قوله بوجهي، لأن الجبان هو جهده إنه يحكي بقفاك. لأن الإنسان المؤمن يطبق ما يؤمن به. فهذا الشخص وأخوه وغيره مهما طال بهم العمر، عمر قصير، لأن تركوا أثر طيب بيناتنا، تركوا محبة، تركوا صدق، ما فيش نفاق. لأن أصعب ما الله نزل صورة منا ليها شو سماها؟ المنافقين، في مكتوب المنافقين. لأن الله سمى بصير مفعول به. فسورة طويلة عريضة ما تجعلوها تتطبق عليكم، تنطبق علينا وعليكم. سورة طويلة عريضة تعلموا منها أن لا تقعوا بشرك النفاق. الصادق صادق بسره وعلانيته، وهؤلاء كانوا يتعاطوا ببساطة بمحبة. لذلك أسأل الله عز وجل أن يجعله من رفقاء محمد وآله، وأن يحشره معهم ويجعله في درجة الوسيلة. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا، أنت مولانا. اللهم هيئنا لهذه الساعة، لأن ما حدا بده يخلد. وانظر إلى هذه الدنيا، إنما الدنيا غضارة أيكة. الأيكة هي الشجرة الخضراء. ألا إنما الدنيا غضارة أيكة إذا اخضر منها جانب جف جانب. شجرة فيها غصن أخضر وغصن يابس، غصن اليابس يقع والأخضر بكمل حياته. لذلك نحن مثل هالشجرة. اللهم ثبتنا على قول الحق، وارحمنا وإياكم، وارحم من اجتمعنا لأجله. اللهم اغفر له ولنا، ورحم الله من أعاد الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you, Sayed. I apologize that we're going to be running a little bit over time. I'd like to ask for the remainder of the program, Sheikh Ahmed Hamoud is going to say a few words in English. We want to have a significant part, at least a balanced part of the program in English. And that'll be followed by Mاجد. Mاجد Soueidan will conclude the program with some words, which will also be in English.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين سيد الأولين والآخرين، سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وربيع قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، وعلى جميع أنبياء الله ورسله وملائكته المقربين وعباده الصالحين والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين. سماحة السيد العزيز، أهلي أحبتي آل الأعزاء، أيها الإخوة والأخوات الأعزاء جميعا، Brother and Sister, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بفقدنا لهذا الراحل العزيز إلى رحمة الله تبارك وتعالى. نسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يتغمده بواسع رحمته، وأن يسكنه الفسيح من جنته، وأن يجمع بينه وبين النبي وآله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وآله والأئمة صلوات الله وسلامه عليهم أجمعين في مستقر من رحمته، إنه سميع مجيب. وإلى روحه وروحي والديه ومن مضى من أرحامه وأمواتنا أموات المؤمنين، العلماء الفقهاء الشهداء، من فقدنا من أعزاء في هذه الجالية وفي أرض الوطن، لا سيما الشهداء المظلومين في هذه الأيام في فلسطين ولبنان وفي كل مكان. اللهم بلغ الجميع منا ثواب السورة المباركة الفاتحة بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. First, I want to offer my condolences to the family and to all of you, brother and sister. I know almost we passed the time for this program. Just a few words. This is the time we face it today. We face the facts. It has been hidden for a long time from the people. What's happened in the Middle East towards the Palestinian people and Lebanese people and everyone in the area, for a long time, the Western country, they trying to hide it from us, the facts. They want the new generation to grow up and forget their roots. That's the game they play. But the last 4 weeks, it showed us the biggest lies ever it's happened. Human rights. It's a lie. They use it when it's going to serve their interest. But what's going on today, we see them. They insist we are not going to ask for ceasefire. We're not going to stop it. they happy every day to see the children and women and civilian people, they die. And they have no feeling. Like Samah Said said, if you feel with the others, then you are a human. But those, they prove to us, they are not human. We're not talking politics, we're not talking anything else. We need to be a human. We used to see some kind of reports, CNN, all of these media. They want to show us how much they care in Europe and in America and Canada and everywhere. If there is little cat or dogs fell down in a pipe or sewer or something like that, how they bring the equipment, the people, they spend 16, 17 hours, sometimes days, to take it out and alive and show the people how much they care. When it came to our people, then they are careless. That's the pictures. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran said. وَلَن تَرْضَى عَنْكَ الْيَهُودُ وَلَا النَّصَارَى حَتَّى تَتَّبِعَ مِلَّتَهُمْ. That's it. We need to go back to the Quran, read the Quran, and know who's following the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the rights and who's against it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يحفظ الجميع، يوفق الجميع، يبارك إن شاء الله لنا ولكم بعيالنا بأبنائنا، هذه الأجيال الصاعدة إن شاء الله التي ندعو الله أن تثبت على الحق وعلى الدين. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يحسن عزاءكم مجددا. My condolence to the family، عزائي لكم جميعا، وأسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يختم لنا ولكم بخير. إلى روح المرحوم المبرور بشير محمد سويدان أبو ماجد ووالديه ومن مضى من أرحامه، أرواح أمواتنا جميعا، أموات المؤمنين، من فقدنا من أعزاء في هذه الجالية وأرض الوطن، علماء الفقهاء الشهداء. اللهم بلغ الجميع منا ثواب السورة المباركة الفاتحة بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
I apologize for the time that we've run over. I do want to say, though, I know that this is a very sensitive time. The situation in Palestine is horrible, and I know that Marhum Bashir Soueidan, Bashir, he was very much felt very strongly about the situation in Palestine, in the Middle East generally. And so much so that there are times where I told him, it's not good for your health. You got to take a little break from it, step back, because he was so passionate about this. So while I apologize for the fact that we've run over, I think it's a fact. It's something we're dealing with, and it's hard to ignore. But so to conclude the program, I would like to ask Mاجد Soueidan, the oldest son of Marhum Bashir Soueidan, to come and conclude the program.
Hello, I'm Maj at Soueidan. Well, I really want to thank you for all being here today, joining me, and all of us together here to, celebrate my dad's life. Today he's smiling. Why do I say that? If you knew him, he loved to be around people. It was one of his biggest joys in life. And right now he's probably giving a speech, like he would always do at every Thanksgiving we did at my parents' house in the suburbs of Philadelphia, Harleysville, in front of 30, 40 people before we would feast. And it really brought him joy to do it every year. And so, over the last 12 months, I spent some time with my dad, and I really wanted to get to know him a little more, ask him questions I hadn't asked him all my life, and to learn more about his journey. And I decided to record them, make some memoirs, and I learned a lot about him, and it opened my eyes to why so many people connect with my dad. I learned that my dad was fond of reading Arabic poetry throughout his life. These memoirs, by the way, they talk about his connection to Lebanon, his connection to the early days of coming to the U.S. To take care of work with his brother Nasib, and he talks about the courtship of his mom. And through this poetry, it was a way that he could keep a connection with a lot of the things that he left behind in Lebanon. And he would memorize these poems, apparently, and there were 2,000 poems. And before he would go to bed every night, he would try and recite one of these poems to keep that connection, not only with the culture, with his faith, and even with the Arabic language, which we had some nice conversations about language. But he was also very open to other cultures, and I think Ali had talked about that, and other religions, and that was really important to him. And I think we saw that during the funeral, and that process of getting through it, because it was an unexpected situation, and we were not prepared for it, and it was incredible seeing that. He talked about his commitment to his brothers, Aziz Soueidan and Nasib Soueidan. And what really was, interesting about that, he really focused on just really talking about how proud he was to be their brothers, and really wanted to see them succeed, and really took pride in that. He was very selfless, and I think that's really a way of describing my dad. He cared more about others than himself. He had mentioned that during our conversations, he looked me in the eye and said, Maj, praise goes a long way with other people. And he tried his best to instill a sense of pride, self-esteem, and above all, a sense of humility to my brother and myself. And to quote him, it is my opinion, it is the character that will always distinguish a man or a woman in their life. It was amazing at 84 years old how much he was able to recall with precise accuracy about his life, whether it was in Yatar in Lebanon, whether it was his beginning journey in the U.S. when he came here in 1962. He spoke eloquently. He was so smart, and I was almost envious of him about his knowledge of the world and his life, and able to communicate that. I think it's all these things I described here really that helped him, enable him to give him a gift to really connect with people. And that was if it was one thing about his journey, it was that, his connection to people. Now there's one story that's really interesting here that kind of floored me a little bit, that kind of puts that into perspective. About 8 months ago, I received a phone call from this woman. Her name is Georgia. And Georgia is an administrator at a financial institution where my dad has his money. I also have some of my money at that same institution. I probably talked to Georgia 5 times in 20 years, so I don't know why she's calling me today. And I said, Georgia, why are you calling me? And she goes, well, I just wanted to tell you, your dad's an incredible man. I'm glad I know him. He's so nice and sincere. I enjoy talking to him. I would just like you to, please let him know I'm telling you that. Relay that message to him. Now, I don't know what my dad said in that 5 or 10 minute conversation, but it was really, almost been impactful. And I think that really, puts that in perspective, his ability to connect with people, and it was in a sincere way. Now, to talk more about, another story about my dad, and kind of puts all this in perspective too. In 2017, my parents, my mom and my dad came to visit me in Florida, where I've lived since 2001. And of course, we pick him up at the airport, and the first thing he says, well, we got to find a Lebanese restaurant. And that was the mission. And we found one, and 2-3 days later, we're taking a 45-minute ride to Miami to find this restaurant. It was purely a Seinfeld moment. I have my GPS going, my mom has her GPS going, my dad got his GPS going, and they're all not in sync. But it was a fun time, and we get there, and we just pull up this kind of little shack, nothing spectacular. And that's the kind of place my dad would always like to find. He's kind of, I think, made him feel comfortable with his years in Yadar and Lebanon, made him feel at home. And so we get out of the car, and the first thing he does, he says, "Manager, we got to find the chef and the owner, and we got to do a tour of the restaurant." So lo and behold, he found the owner. He's from Lebanon, and they're talking, for 10 minutes, and I walk away for a few minutes, and we still haven't ordered our food yet. Come back and I see my dad pulling a phone out of his pocket, making a phone call. Well, he's calling somebody in Lebanon to connect this person with him, and I guess they knew each other. Unfortunately, it was the only person in Lebanon that he didn't get along with. But it just shows that this ability for my dad to really want to connect with the human spirit. Now, one thing you should know about my father is, I should also say in that whole that chain of events there, after we finally order our food, and we're sitting down, my mother, my dad, myself, at a table by ourselves, and there's a table next to us with maybe 10, 12 people, a Latin family. And I saw my dad just looking at them, wanted to talk to them, and of course he did. And 5 minutes later, it's all of us sitting at one big table, ordering food, talking, exchanging phone numbers and stories, and keeping in touch after that. And I think that story really, describes my dad and his joy of life, his joy of talking to other people, able to connect, and just loving to see other people happy. Another thing about my dad is he had an incredible, immense love and respect for my mother. It was really, really pretty intense. Now, during these last few days of his passing, I paid more attention to the pictures around the house. Some people sent me pictures. I know it's a pretty common theme in many of these pictures. My mom and dad standing side by side, but many of them were just the same exact picture, with either my dad, kissing my mom on her forehead, or lying his head on her shoulder. Eyes closed, in peace. And I'd actually made a pillow for my parents. It was Mother's Day, and it was one of these pictures last year. And I made it. I was in Florida, or maybe Puerto Rico, and I had sent them this pillow of this picture. But this was the first time I really looked at it. It was sitting in the house. I just stared at it, and I really just saw that intense kind of peace my dad was at when he was with my mom. It was really it was an incredible relationship. It was really kind of a romance novel if you really think about it. My mom and my dad. Now, there was a courtship there. So when my father met my mom, really because Aziz, my uncle, Aziz Soueidan, had married my mom's sister, Jamili. And that's how my dad began to meet my mom and befriend her. And when he moved to the U.S. in 1962, he kept in touch with my mom for 7 years. They would write letters back and forth. And this was part of his, poetry inspired kind of, upbringing. And I walked down this morning before coming here today. I flew in today, and my mom's sitting at the table with all these letters. And those are letters that he was talking about. And it was only half of them apparently. But I want to read you some of the quotes here, and even passages that my dad and I talked about from these memoirs, and really about my mom and how that relationship transpired. These are his own words. The courtship began as a friendly correspondence because we knew each other very well. I used to be at her house almost daily because my brother, Aziz, married your mom's sister. I used to go and have lunch and dinner at their house because I was living with my brother on a seat. During the correspondence, Aziz, I'm sorry. During the correspondence, every once in a while, there were hints of romances. And they were perhaps remained a testimony to the love that we had for each other, to the enduring relationship that was established, even though we didn't see each other for 7 years. Our life has been a wonderful experience for both of us. We have been married for 53 years, it will be 54 now. I can speak about your mom as a wonderful, caring, sacrificing person. And that sometimes I question whether I deserve her because she's above the call of duty. She made her house over the last 50 years a magnet for our friends and relatives, whether dinner parties or Thanksgiving celebrations. And as always, she doesn't expect any praise or thanks. And the one thing my dad would tell me over and over again, and even during these memoirs, is that if he ever felt he upset my mom, or she had a bad day because of him, which is going to happen in 54 years of marriage, he never wanted her to go to sleep, unhappy or sad or upset at him or upset at each other. And he would always make it a point to, before they would go to bed, to apologize, tell her he loved her, and say, and just let her know how much he cares about her. And it was really interesting. Just a few days ago, after my dad passed, my mom was telling me about some stories about my dad, and said, "I want you to know something. If your dad was in whatever, we got in a fight or he's upset, he would always come to me every night and tell me how much he loved me and cared for me, and that we never would want to go to bed angry at each other." So I thought that was, pretty interesting. That conversation occurred just in the scope of things here. But really, I'll end this with this thought. We know people our loved ones are going to pass one day, and you never know how you're going to deal with it or how it's going to affect you. We all deal with it probably differently. For me, it was a pretty incredible moment, and we probably tell ourselves, some of us might say to ourselves, "Hey, I feel sad. This will pass. Maybe the memories pass." But I know from my perspective, I don't want those memories to pass, and I don't want to keep remembering my dad as I did, as much as I did, yesterday or years ago, and 10 years from now. And I actually think that the funny thing happened throughout the ceremony, the burial ceremony that we went through, the washing, the placing my dad in the grave. It was a very touching moment for me. I'm not a very emotional person, and it definitely moved me, and I feel